You didn't tell me we're having fun in this. Oh no.
Oh, I came unprepared.
Have fun.
Hello. This is Gillinor from Are You Sure You Want to Do That? We're going to be doing something kind of different. We're doing a homebrew world creation doomajiki. So we're going to be asking questions and answering these questions in this live stream. And yeah, the questions will be on the side and you guys can try to follow along. Or they'll come up every now and then. I don't know how it's going to be done. I'm not the one streaming it, so.
But things may pop up.
Things will pop up. Some things you may want to see, some things you don't. Be warned. That's it.
All right.
Wait, do I have to keep this PG again?
No,
No.
you can be as non-PG as you like.
Yes,
if you
we
feel
gotta-
like it.
That's a lot of fucking pressure off my shoulders.
Oh, thank fucking God. Oh, but wait, we need to make the announcement that there might be foul language in this first. So go ahead, Mary. Do it. Do the thing.
Oh, I didn't know I'm gonna do the thing. Let me. Oh, okay. I have the screen from Cazo. The following presentation may and most likely will contain strong adult language, graphic descriptions of excessive violence, possibly sexual themes, other scary stuff, and on top of that, a Scotsman's. Wait, one Scotsman. I don't know why that has happened there. And it may be disturbing for some audience, so please viewer discretion is advised. Are you sure you want to do that? Is an official fan content permitted under the fan content policy, not approved endorsed by Wizards. Portion of the materials used are property of the Wizards of the Coast. Thank you.
Thank you, reader
That
of
last
the
part
text.
is my favorite.
Reader of the sacred text. So yeah, this is we'll be cussing and things like that because why not? We're adults, so we can do what we want. We're not children. But we are
Adults?
ambassadors of Jasper's Game Day. I mean, not all of us are children.
EP.
Some of us are adults. Some of us are children. I'm a child at heart, so it's fine. I can cuss still. My mom let me.
Yeah,
I
my
have a
mommy says
child's heart.
cussing is bad.
And I'm not giving it back.
Cussing's against the rules. So yeah, basically this is just a character creation, world creation. So it's a little different than normal. So we're gonna have a list of questions. You guys have the questions, so let's open them up. Kazu, if you can throw the questions on the board real quick, so that the viewers at home
Page
can.
1 of 18.
One of 18. These are not spaced out very well. Yeah, if you could do half and half, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Are we going to answer every single one of these questions? Is the question.
Question number 1. Yes, you will be answering every single one of these questions.
All right, guys, we're gonna be here for a few days.
That's why I said this. We may have if it comes to a point where we need to take a break to rest our minds and come back. This may be a multiple week type thing. So, there's a lot of questions here. There's 18 pages of questions, and they're not spaced out. So, question number 1. Which, if there's a question that we just don't want to answer yet, we can come back to it and circle back the wagons kind of deal, because we may not have an answer to it just yet. So the question 1 is, which areas are the most fertile farmland?
Yeah, I really don't think this is the first question.
Yeah, I think
asking
can I make a suggestion? Can we
Sure.
start a bit broader about like world mythos, maybe creation myth type stuff, or just general theme of what kind of field we want for this campaign? Because this is a question that's
now
more
I'm personally
specific.
offended because I suggested that to you last night, and you were like, "No, we're gonna do it my way." Then Cool Boy Shane suggested, and you're like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh.
A little bit of favoritism.
Welcome to the favoritism, where I am your host. I was thinking about that earlier, but yeah. So I'm gonna just change some slight stuff here, and yeah, we'll do that. I just also need to adjust back down to whatever this text size is. What text size is this? 11? Okay. 11. So question 1, I guess, is general creation. How is the world created?
Multiple gods.
I like that. I've never been a huge fan of monotheism, so I'm kind of into that idea.
Yeah,
Do we?
monotheism is not fun.
It's kind of boring. What if? So multiple gods. But that raises a lot of other questions. Do we want to have greater gods, lesser gods, demigods, or just all the gods are sort of equal power, or like, what do people feel about
Do
that?
we want to have concepts that are also outside the boundaries of the gods?
Right?
Yeah.
Do we have? I think having greater gods and lesser gods is cool, but we can also have it so that there's one greater god, like in Faerun, there's a greater god, and then there are gods underneath him. There's the one god to rule them all.
Maybe
Hmm.
it could be sort of like, I don't know if anyone's ever played in the Theros Magic the Gathering setting, but in that
Which is
setting,
effectively like Greek mythology, right?
yeah, so it's got the pantheon, but the way that it works is that if you, so there are certain concepts that will always exist, like wonder.
Mhm.
Like human wonder will always exist, and so there will always be a god of wonder. And just every sort of like domain, there's always going to be a god of that. So mortals from various means might be able to ascend to godhood if enough people believe in them that they are a god. And the way that
Right.
world works is that like once a god has taken an aspect or a portfolio, everyone's minds just sort of like assume that they've always been the god. Like they don't remember necessarily that person was mortal at one point. That sort of gets washed away. People just think, oh, they were always the sun god, or they were always the god of death, or something like that.
Well, that's sort of like, I guess, D&D in terms of like normal Faerun lore too, because like you can ascend to become a god and still another god's like portfolio. So that's
Well, yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's harder though.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to just add on to that there are multiple gods and multiple same pantheons too. But do we want to hammer it down to say maybe that there are gods for each domain here that we have, and when a person
Like
quote unquote
12?
ascends, well, yeah, at least do we want to do one that's so like one's in each different pantheon, or do we want to have multiple over encompassing gods?
I like the idea. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence because having one pantheon, and like everybody recognizing that all of these gods are real, but you don't have to worship them all. You can choose a god to.
There's
to
another
to
question.
choose.
There's another question. I think that's a little bit like less of a known one. What about having two warring pantheons? So there's a pantheon of gods that is set for domains, and another pantheon of gods that have the same domains, and each country worships different gods. So you have like, for instance, the Greek and Roman gods. They both shared domains, but some of them were strikingly different gods, even though they were technically the same gods.
Or even just within the same mythology, like the Olympian gods versus the Chthonic gods.
Right.
The gods of the underworld, the gods of Olympus. They're all part of the same mythology, but they are completely different sort of aspects to them.
Well, this would be more like one country believes in, like, let's say Zeus. Another country believes in Odin. And these two gods are like, obviously, they're hierarchy top gods. And they're constantly at war with each other. So you have domain gods for one country and then the same domain gods for a different country. And these two domain gods would fight against each other.
So I guess the question then would be,
I kind of like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have parallel pantheons, but they'd be regional, sort of.
Regional, exactly.
Okay.
And then how many regions do you want to throw into this?
That's another
Just
question.
two,
You
or
could
should
have
we have
That
multiple.
Yeah, I mean that could. We don't even have to answer that because if we're just starting out in one region, there could be lots of regions. It doesn't, we can kind of,
Right.
or we can just count on Slade to, invent that as we go. But maybe like we should
Keep
come
adding.
up with, an idea for like how involved are these gods in mortal affairs? Can they directly intervene with us, or do they have to do more indirect means to sort of steer what's going on? Like, do they have to send down, choose champions? Maybe they have to like make demigods or something like that in order to like interfere with mortal affairs. Or maybe they're so distant that, they can't even do like that much. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you want like a heavy involvement with the deities, or?
Yeah, can the gods literally walk the earth and then directly involve themselves? Are gods like maybe kings of certain countries or cities in the country?
I've always been a fan of like a god being able to manifest an avatar, but only after a certain point of followers have gathered behind them.
So they can directly involve themselves in the world, but it is a high cost to themselves or something. Maybe it puts them at mortal risk.
It's like they themselves can't be on the earth or material plane or whatever, but like an avatar of themselves.
A portion of their power.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess what it would mean is if they exist in a realm that's outside the material plane, right? Like an outer plane, then in order to manifest on the material plane, it would leave that outer plane vulnerable to attack from another plane, right? So like, yeah, they could do it, but if they do, then there's nobody governing their realm, right?
Especially if you like, I would imagine it's like this. If you have a portfolio that's huge, like death, and you have to put yourself as an avatar, you're taking like a percentage of your power and making it into an avatar, which takes a percentage of your concentration. And you may be omnipotent to a degree, but you're distracted to a point that you're open to attacks. And if you have other gods like that are the same pantheon that want to take your portfolio and make themselves stronger, you may not necessarily want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
So they
sort of
can-
like, if we're linking it back to the idea of like greater gods and lesser gods, I know maybe it's just because I'm a bit of a pessimist, but I always like the idea that the ones that are humans or humanoids would be worshipping, or the ones that take the greatest interest in wanting those followers, would be more of lesser gods in that spectrum. If that makes sense, like the ones that really want followers and want people worshipping them. So it's like they don't. So they don't have the absolute like Zeus, Jehovah, whatever omnipotence. They are above. They want followers, but they do have to take a risk every time because they are leaving themselves vulnerable and they're not completely secure in their realm.
Right.
Positioning.
So actually that's a good parallel to like the Elder Scrolls gods, right? There's the Aedra, who are the big gods, right? They don't get involved in anything. You don't get to see or talk to them really. They're just sort of there in the sky, in the stars, sort of like as like,
they got bigger things to worry about.
Then you've got the Daedric princes who can walk the earth, but they're a lesser god tier. Like they can screw around with stuff, but they don't have nearly as much power as the Aedra do. So maybe we could have a sort of system like that. I feel like that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because
maybe there's a theory that they can ascend with the right amount of followers or support or something. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it could be a mystery even to them, and they're just
from like a storytelling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there could be a mystery to us. Like for some reason, these lesser gods want followers, want people worshipping them, and maybe we're not entirely sure. Maybe society's not entirely sure why that is. But yeah, maybe there's an end game there for the lesser gods to ascend or to have greater influence in the realm of the higher gods or something.
And for us, like as people, we might not even consciously be aware that there is a difference between greater and lesser. Like that might not be actually like known. Maybe these lesser gods carry themselves off like they're greater gods, and there's whole cults or followings that believe they are a greater god or something like that. They just think of them as a god, They don't differentiate.
I feel like greater gods probably like. So here's another question then: are we gonna use realm space? If you guys don't know what that is, it's effectively you are in a ball, and inside of this ball is your world and maybe whatever you have going on. And then outside of that ball is realm space. And in between your realm space and there might be another ball. And in that ball there's different gods, different pantheons, different worlds. And you can travel between them. It's effectively Spelljammer, if you've ever played Spelljammer.
Oh.
I've heard of it.
So like you could go from Faerun, to Elturel. Or not Faerun to Elturel, what the hell? Not Elturel. Faerun to
Eberron, maybe?
Eberron, yeah, that's the E, Eberron. And then from Eberron to like Greyhawk, and then from Greyhawk to Dark Sun.
Dark Sun, yeah.
They're all different universes. Yeah, so it's like that, except we would have our own.
So I've got a suggestion for an overall theme. I mentioned it
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that like since we're talking about gods and deities and like the role of lesser and greater and like ascension and stuff like that, and the idea of like the realm space having different worlds that are all like they have their own sort of situation going on. There are two games that I feel like lend themselves really well to this sort of idea. The first is, I don't know if anyone's ever played it, Final Fantasy Legend for the Game Boy. That's what they called it in America. It's called Saga in Japan. Nobody? Cool.
You had me at Final Fantasy and lost me at Legend.
Yeah, they called it that because when they localized it, they wanted to write off. Oh, that's a bummer. Square made it essentially. So when they localized it, Square, they're like, oh, well, they made Final Fantasy. Let's just rebrand it as that. But long story short, the whole premise of that world is that there's a tower. The tower goes up into the sky and kind of disappears. And the idea is if you can unlock the door to the tower, it'll lead to other worlds. And if you get to the top of the tower, you could become a god. So essentially the tower itself is like a built-in dungeon crawl. When you get to a certain amount of levels, like you can reach different doors that lead to different realm spaces that have their own thing. Like, oh, there's a water world, a sky world. There's like all these different worlds you can go to. And they all have their own sort of situation going on, their own different like kings, warlords who rule over. Like everything could be radically different, which means that if our goal as a party for whatever reason is to ascend the tower, we could basically go on this really cool world hopping adventure. And then that would also then allow us to have like different pantheons for different worlds. So like you could have a world pantheon for the whatever one we start in, but then if we go up to the next world somehow, if we're able to unlock the tower and keep going up, that'll have a completely different pantheon. And you might be like a cleric that draws from the thunder god. Well, you can't reach the god down there. Now you have to draw from a different thunder god, right? Like that could be something really interesting where it's like now you have to like be like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm a cleric who follows your domain, your portfolio. I hope you're as cool as the other god I used to follow.
They like have pamphlets.
That's an interesting.
In ways,
considered.
That is a good idea, and I kind of had a similar one. I think that might be more of a late game type deal than an early game type deal.
You gotta let Ash talk because she tried a few times.
Go ahead, Ash.
Oh, sorry.
I just said so, kind of like a curse pod kind of thing.
Yeah, not unlike that. Yeah.
No, I understand that. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, except you're not necessarily like trapped, but yeah,
you can leave when you want. It's like Dragon, how he hops from world to world, and the Wednesday campaign. Right. Yeah. So it's like
yeah, I guess I figured.
Like the Norse mythology idea of Yggdrasil or the World Tree.
Yeah,
which connects the different realms together. So it's like if you can access that, you can go to a different realm or something.
I was thinking that if we were to run this campaign, I'd like a sort of heavily Norse campaign or Norse based, because I like that. But like, it could be one of the lands. It doesn't have to be all the lands. It could be like the northern lands or Norse, and the southern lands or something else.
Well, I've actually got an idea that might be kind of interesting. I really like the tower idea. That's really interesting to me, and I kind of like the whole thought process behind that. But how about instead of like warring countries, it's warring universes almost, with the different pantheons that we can go about, and they're clashing between each other, and kind of get behind the whole Viking raiding bit with the party of traveling to different universes to pillage and plunder.
Just gonna show my Viking necklace for a bit.
Nice.
I do like the ideas of world hopping. The only problem with that is that I feel like that's a much higher level campaign.
Yeah, I do think we've
later.
This has been like the second or third time we've mentioned like warring gods or warring pantheons, though. So I think that's pretty solid. Like yeah, and once again, like if you're starting at like early levels or something, it's just like, what's your level of knowledge on it? Do you know why these pantheons are warring? Are we trying to figure it out, or are we just sort of blindly being like, oh, it's how it is, it's how it always is?
Yeah, and do we have to start early levels?
We don't have to start early levels. I just would prefer to not start at super high levels also.
That's fair.
Starting at level 17.
And you probably wouldn't want us to like start in our world and then immediately try to leave to a different, like, adventure in the world you start in at least a little bit before hopping to another one.
Yeah, because
establish the Shire. Establish the Shire before you go around all of Middle Earth.
Yeah. It would be difficult, not difficult, but it would be hard for me to have to constantly keep making up a new world when we've barely made the one. So yeah, I'd prefer to get one world solid and then branch out from there.
Okay. So
if the story allowed for us to go to another place.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's absolutely fine.
So if like something was happening with a character, or there's something that's going on in the world that we need to like hop to a different place, then that world can be built. As of now, we can just build the world that we're going to be playing in.
Yeah. Because I think that we could start somewhere between like 5 and 7 in terms of starting level, or even lower level, but 5 or 7 was what I was thinking.
Okay.
And then
good with either of those two.
So
I have some ideas of how the campaign will start. I just need to work out the world more, mostly right now. So we answered the question of gods. There are greater and lesser gods, and we are thinking of multiple pantheons that are warring. Now, the question of, can gods directly involve themselves in the world? The answer is yes, but at a risk, is what I was hearing before.
If we do the greater lesser, do we want to make it that the greater can't really do that? Maybe there's like a pact or something, or they're just like, if you reach a certain level of omnipotence, it's almost like, I don't know. Yeah. Perhaps like
you could take it then that a lesser god that doesn't want to ascend because he enjoys his freedom to be able to enter the mortal plane.
Right. Like if you're a cleric, you get your power from a greater god, but if you're a lesser god, you're almost like a patron, a warlock patron. You know what I mean? Like you're powerful, but you're not a god, right?
Yeah.
Like, would that make sense?
So it's like this like pyramid thing. So it's like there are the greater gods, and it just sort of like comes down, and then like the lesser gods try to get the followers in the hope that they will ascend themselves. Pyramid scheme of religion.
And then we have to have one god that's sort of at the top, like Zeus, Odin, something
Cthulhu.
like
that. Kind of like
definitely
Cthulhu is not the main god.
So
H.P. Lovecraft.
So maybe it's unknown to us as characters when we start out that there are other pantheons that the gods are warring with, because we're so low on the totem pole that we just don't know that at first. Maybe it's more what we know right now is that there's always a battle of supremacy between the gods that exist on our world to be that top dog, right?
Yeah.
And like there is a top dog, they kind of keep everything else in line, and you've got lesser gods trying to get into the top, the bigger position so they can be top dog. And then if we did go to a different world, you'd still have all the same domains, but different gods, and maybe it was the thunder god that ruled our old pantheon, but when you get to New World, they're like way low on the totem pole, and it's actually like the god of love or something that rules. And so like, you know, you as a thunder cleric, you're just not as respected here as the other person who does like enchantment magic, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. If I can just ask onto that, and I apologize if I'm stopping anyone else from jumping in. Would it be different worlds or like that, or would it even like break down into nations within the world we start at? Like,
I think nations
like
within the world you start in would probably be like that.
Yeah.
If we had one nation, let's say the Norse nation, Odin's at the top, right? And I don't know what Odin is, but or what domain he'd be. I guess knowledge, maybe. Because
he's
right.
Maybe
it's
knowledge
weird.
and war.
It's like Odin's.
I would
One
say
of them-
war.
He hung himself to become all-knowing,
Odin's-
and he did all kinds of crazy shit to get knowledge. So
Yeah.
I think it would be knowledge as his number one domain.
Yeah, Norse is a bit different to Greek. It's like the gods have multiple things. So like Odin's, I think, god of battle and poetry and some like other things.
Let's
Whereas
Google it.
Thor is god of war but not battle and some other things.
So his portfolio for Odin, and this may have changed, is that he is the greater deity of knowledge, magic, and war. So Odin would be, his main portfolio was knowledge. So if you had like knowledge clerics, then that would be, you'd be like pretty high up.
And also like whatever
say,
society follows that, would that reflect sorry for jumping in, but would that reflect people who aren't magic users and aren't religious as well? Like whatever society Odin's the head at, it's just like people who are more knowledgeable, like scientists, academics, just held in a higher stance. Whereas in a city across the pond, maybe it's a god of love or a god of poetry, and in that city, because of that, they rank artists and stuff like that higher.
But even if it was like Zeus, his portfolio is like Tempest. So Tempest would be like the higher up ones. They would worship the storms and stuff like that more than knowledge.
What about the evil ones?
So whether that's a good question.
You could have people that worship evil gods, yeah. That put them
above. Would there be
yeah.
gods?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, if is there the same like devil demon situation? Like, if all the gods are, you know, warring and trying to get to the top, let's is it necessarily just the evil gods that make things like warlocks as well, or would it be like all gods trying to jump in?
Well, I mean, technically, it would be all gods because you do have the celestial warlock. So
I'm thinking more like typical terms, like
I guess technically, if you wanted to have a hexblade warlock, you could say that you were given your sword by a god of battle.
So this also raises a question of like where the gods reside, because if the greater gods can't directly intervene in the material realm, they have to be somewhere else. And is it all in the same place, like an Olympus type situation where they're like they have their own plane, or are there multiple realms?
I would say that each sort of pantheon has their own realm, their own place, and then they would have their gods within. So, like for instance, you had like the Dagobah, the god of weather and crops, and his pantheon, and then you have like Zeus and his pantheon, and you have like Ra and their pantheon, and then you have Odin and his pantheon and stuff like that. Like just as an example, and they each have their own different sort of place, like Asgard and you know, Mount Olympus, and then each country would sort of worship their own.
Yeah. And are they different? Right, no, you go.
Oh, we're talking about a lot of like nations and countries and things like that, and I mentioned something earlier to Kaza when it was just us two, because I had this idea, another idea, full of ideas, for a really cool. If we're doing multiple worlds, this could be a cool starting scenario. Is that, it was a world that had countries and nations and kings and, you know, all sorts of regular high fantasy stuff. Something happened that caused an apocalyptic event. And we are many years after that event. Maybe a lot of the people who still are around don't have any knowledge of how the world got kind of fucked up. But like, it would be, let's say, like resources are scarce. A lot of deserts where there didn't used to be any. You know, like it's sort of like a sword and sorcery, Conan the Barbarian type of situation where it didn't always used to be this way. And like old cities and ruins exist, but to get to them is very dangerous. So it's very high stakes, high adventure type of situation. And we're out just trying to survive. We might not even know that we could even get to another world. And maybe that's like part of us discovering the truth of what happened, and perhaps being able to save our world by traversing the other worlds and trying to, like, maybe there's a MacGuffin or something. There's a lot of directions we could go with that, but I kind of like the idea of like a post-apocalyptic high fantasy situation.
I do have a idea for the start of the campaign. If we're gonna go with the multiple gods, multiple pantheon thing, that's fine. That doesn't change anything. I do like the idea of there being an apocalyptic event, and I kind of already have an idea about what that would have been. Now that we're talking, and to circle back to the question of why don't greater deities come to the plains anymore and walk on the ground and you know, interact with people, I imagine that might have been part of the apocalyptic event. That there was an apocalyptic event, the greater deities came down to the plane in their full might, and they wreaked havoc. Maybe not intentionally. You may don't know the whole story, but after this happened, all of the greater deities said, "Look, we can't do this shit anymore." They all signed a binding contract that said they can no longer directly come to the planes of existence and fuck around. And that's why they're gone. They're here, and they still have they still have their domains, and they still influence the countries. They don't do it directly, but they have like lesser deities that they may whisper in the ear of and say, "Hey, Zeus, or hey, this is Zeus. Can you go fuck with these people, please, Apollo?" And then Apollo's like, "Sure thing, boss." Goes and fucks with them, or does whatever, because he's a lesser deity, right? So he can do whatever he wants. Because in the sort of Greek mythology, that was a thing. All of the gods had agreed that they were not allowed to interfere with humanity, but Zeus still fucked a lot of women, so got a lot of people pregnant.
Yeah, he just turned into animals first. He was like, haha, loophole.
He pretended to be other things and gross loophole. But yeah, so like the gods had agreed that they weren't.
You guys want minotaurs, because that's how you get minotaurs.
Look at me, I'm this sexy bull. Aren't I attractive? Like, no. What if I use magic? Oh, that's creepy, but now I can't resist. Yeah, like, I feel like that's kind of how that worked.
So yeah, I have this idea.
Next question: can I play a minotaur?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Anyone can play any races that are in the Wizard of the Coast stuff. So, yeah, I think that kind of answers a few questions. Why don't greater deities come to the plane? Something happened. It was bad. It caused a lot of havoc on this world, and so the greater deities signed a contract saying, "No more. We don't come here anymore." You guys don't know exactly why, what happened, or what was happening. That was a long time ago. Lesser deities can come because...
Until I hear otherwise?
You're 3,000 years old.
Until I hear otherwise, I'm assuming it was an orgy.
It's a massive orgy, and they don't want to talk about it anymore.
Destroyed the world.
all the goddesses of love are like trying to spread this rumor around, and
we're
the
level
gods are
20.
Like,
We finally get to talk to the greater gods. What happened? They're like smoking a cigarette, like
It's crazy, man.
it was fucking nuts, and I mean that literally. It was
wild.
nuts.
There were nuts. There was nuts everywhere. So
I have pure curiosity. Would Cobalt of the Press stuff be allowed?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, probably run it by him first, but
I allow all Cobalt of the Press stuff. I don't see any problem with it. It's all. It's going to be a big world, so we'll find a place for it someplace. But yeah, I do like the idea of it being like some places being more dangerous than other places. Cities being the safest. That's how I've always run my campaigns. Is if you're leaving town, you best leave in either a caravan or prepare yourself for death.
Don't go in the woods alone, guys.
Don't go in the woods alone. That's a bad idea.
Never go in the woods alone.
Be AFK for a couple seconds.
Okay.
I learned that lesson a long time ago, believe it or not, when a badger almost killed me in Pathfinder. I was like a cleric. I was like channeling negative energy to kill this badger and its buddies, and it was going into a rage where it just wasn't dying. And that was because I went into the woods alone. So yeah, no, that's a real lesson. Don't do that.
Ray, do you have anything that you want to add to what we've talked about so far, or are you just listening?
Mare?
Yeah, you.
Oh, me. You kind of lost me at cats, because I think cats are lame. So I'm just following along.
So basically, so far what we've gotten is that there's going to be multiple countries. There may be a potential to travel to other worlds later in the game.
I mean,
in
I
the
was
early
listening.
game, it's not. No, it's just a recap in general, not for you, just in general. So there's multiple countries. Each country worships their own pantheon. These pantheons are warring. They don't necessarily all have to be warring against each other. It could be times of peace as well in different countries. Hey, I can see you in the camera, you little shit. Window's open and there's no screen on it, so he tries to sneak out. And we're on like the 11th fucking floor. So you have chosen death.
Is it too soon to say is magic a thing, or
well, we'll get to that. Like that's a much later thing when we start getting to that. Yeah, but I feel like magic is definitely going to be a thing. I don't think we're going to play in a non-magic campaign. It's just kind of boring.
Oh, thank
but
fuck.
I do. No, magic's not a thing in certain countries. Oh, maybe it's not a thing in certain countries.
Well,
you go to a different country and just like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm out of magic.
Well, it could be a thing where it's like it could be taboo in certain areas, especially in a post-apocalyptic world. Maybe people blame magic for what happened.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't even remember what actually happened. It's just like a superstition where like we could go to a new area. There's a warlord ruling over this area, and like the law of the land is like if you cast magic, they string it by your ankles and set you on fire. Like I don't know, like it could be stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll get to that as we progress. That's definitely something further on. So far there are greater gods, there are lesser gods, there are multiple pantheons that could be warring between the countries. The different countries all worship a different pantheon, and the gods can directly interfere into the world, but only the lesser gods, and it's at a risk. So. And there's going to be travel to other worlds, but that's later on in the campaign, maybe probably further. So right now we have the question of how was the world created?
Do we have to answer that? Could we leave that up to?
We can just leave that up to interpretations. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it's just the way that all worlds are created by an omni-god.
I kind of like the idea also that as players we don't know that, and we kind of maybe want to figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that one. We'll leave that one to be determined by me. So yes.
You got to do some work, DM. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I've got lots of ideas planned. I just like this is just helping me formulate the ideas better, and then see what everyone's thinking. So I've got some ideas of how we're going to even start the campaign. So. Okie dokie. Turns out this is the campaign where like I just give you guys a bunch of menial tasks, and then you find out that like the lesser gods are like they've been fucking with you the whole time. Then you find out that the greater gods are the ones that told them to fuck with you the whole time. Then you find out the Omni God was the one that told them to do it. And then they're like, you get to the end and you're like, Omni God, why? Why did you fuck with us this whole time? And he's like, I didn't do it. It was the DM. And then you fight me at the end.
Literally just gonna go out with pitchforks and shit and find you.
But like just real life you.
Yeah,
just
real
like
life
you,
me.
literally in your apartment, like the adventurers burst in, you're like, oh shit. I can explain.
Like,
Reminds
guys,
me, is anyone-
it's just an idea I've been having a long time, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Has anyone heard of the movie Holy Mountain by Jodorowsky? Like,
I'm not.
very arty and stuff.
I've seen it when
but
I was young, and it was a very
it's messed up.
memorable experience.
It sounds like a
Yeah,
Polish
but it's like there's
person. So.
Jodorowsky. I can't remember the exact ethnicity, but essentially there's this big journey involving like alchemy and stuff to get to a holy mountain to find the truth. And when they get to the truth, the guy's just like sitting at a table and he's like, the truth is, this isn't a mountain, it's a movie set. And then the camera pulls out. It's just like boom operators and everyone around them. And he's like, thanks for the journey, everyone. Enjoy your movie. We're going home. And then they just walk off.
That sounds like the end of Holy Grail when
So,
like
there's a
the
question.
police get involved.
Yeah, it was just. But like the thing is, like Holy Mountain was just every
Blazing Saddles.
weird. It was one of those strange art movies where someone would come across Jesus in the desert, but then Jesus would have tigers on his nipples that would spill milk at them, and you're just sitting there going, I'm sure there's an artistic reasoning behind this, but I'm not sure what it is. But yeah.
So
Anyway,
there's a question. There's a question on the questionnaire that I actually want to know. Are there multiple suns and moons? Because I'd like the idea of multiple moons.
Okay. So I was talking about this earlier. I really like this idea. So the second, I mentioned 2 games earlier, and I only talked about the first one, which was the Final Fantasy Legend one. The second game, where I got the idea of the post-apocalyptic world, is a PC game called Battle for Westnoth. Has anyone ever heard of this? Okay,
heard
it's
of,
like
haven't played.
It is a top-down, free-to-play, sort of like a turn-based strategy game. And Westnoth is your typical high fantasy setting. They've got like a whole map and a lore and all these like missions you can play in these little campaigns. But there are user-made campaigns too. And the best campaign is user-made campaign where it's post-apocalyptic, where what happened was the hubris of these human kingdoms. They decided that they were sick of the necromancers and the creatures of darkness always like screwing with their world. So they decided to banish the night by taking basically a mountain and using all their mages at once to lift it up into the sky and create a second sun to eliminate the darkness. And they were successful. They made 2 suns. And so the days were twice as long and the nights were very short. So that was kind of effective, but it didn't get rid of all evil and all darkness. You can't do that, So for maybe like a few hundred years, things were going okay. But everyone got complacent. Peace sort of softened the edges of, the fangs of all these empires and stuff in the main kingdom of Westnoth. And this one king got so kind of caught up in his legacy, he wanted to do the same thing that his predecessor had done. But the mages were all like not as good in this era. They were all very weak. They weren't battle hardened from any war or anything because it was a time of peace. So he got these mages to try to lift up another sun into the sky. And this didn't work. They brought it up and then it crashed down and destroyed the kingdom. And it set the other 2 suns out of whack. So instead of having days that were twice as long with a regular night, you had 2 sort of regular timed day cycles, like 12 hours each. You had a short night cycle in between the first 2 days. So like maybe a 4 to 6 hour night. And then you had a long night after that, like a really long night in between. So you have this irregular day cycle with these 2 suns that are kind of flying around the sky and just terrible resources, because everything's like desertified and there are only a couple bastions of, civilized areas. And I don't know. I really like that idea. Obviously, that's a completely different origin for what the post-apocalyptic event would have been. but the idea of having two suns is very cool. I like the idea.
Yeah, the idea of having the two suns doesn't have to fall into the post-apocalyptic thing. That's just an additional thing. And one of the suns could be dark. It could be a dark sun.
Ooh,
a nega sun.
Like the Dark Sun campaign.
Yeah, it could be a black sun, and it just radiates night and evil energies.
Just one sun's boring. That's all I'm saying. We should have more suns, more moons.
Sure, let's go 2 suns.
3 moons.
2 suns. And 3 moons.
That's and I are on the same page.
But like it's yes we are, like a full moon, a half a moon, and then like a quarter of a moon.
Or like, what if we did 8 moons? And I didn't just throw that, I pulled that on my butt. There are 8 fields of magic, right? What if you had 1 moon for everything of magic? You had a necromancy moon, a transmutation moon, a divination moon, and so on.
And if that moon's in the sky, or like in the height, or like the full moon, you're more powerful?
Yeah, like the DC of your spells of that go up by like 2 or something.
Or why not, if we're going to have a dark sun, why don't we make it so that every time that there's a lunar eclipse with each of the different moons, something different happens in the world?
Oh, a lunar eclipse, if the moons are ever, like if they're not in the sky, you can still do that magic, but if they get eclipsed or something like that, then like you can't cast spells of that school. Like it's just dead magic for that school.
So So 3 things here. There's 2 suns. 2 suns. God. One of them is a dark sun. One of them is a normal sun. And then there's 8 moons. If any of the suns ever eclipsed by one of the moons, something happens. If the dark sun's eclipsed by one of the moons, then something bad happens for that particular school of magic. If it's the other sun, then something good will happen. Beneficial. Yeah. And if your sun is full moon in the sky, then your DC goes up by 1 for that spell, or like your attack goes up by 1 for that spell.
I can get behind that.
I like the idea that wherever they're positioned at any moment, like it would take some math to kind of figure out what the cycles are going to be and how they're affected, and also what are the origins of everything too. Like we might not know, but there could be.
I think we wouldn't know.
I already have the origin of one of the suns. I already have the origins of the sun's plan, so we're good.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. I'm into this. This is such an interesting concept.
Yeah, Oh, that could really.
Cool.
Someone
it's
over
like wild magic without even having to be wild magic.
Yeah.
Wait, there's two other schools of magic with the Wildmount book. There's the school of magic.
Graviturgy and I'm gonna say chronomancy. I don't like saying chronergy. I think that sounds silly. Chronomancy.
So 10 moons.
Yeah, those could be. I mean, those are. I don't know. Well, they could just have always existed.
Like, I also just really love the idea, and this is me pitching why I think this is a good idea. Is because I think it's also in the questionnaire, like, are the laws of physics and stuff the same in this world as in others? It's like in this world we're in, like, darkness is the default state, and then light comes from photons and whatnot. But in this imaginary world, it's like darkness actually comes from a dark sun.
Right.
And light, it's this completely different thing. It's like shadows are created. And then it just like makes you goes, if there is neither sun, then what is it? Everything transparent? Is it endless transparency? What would that look like?
So would that mean that the suns are always on the polar opposite of the world and they kind of orbit, kind of almost like tidally locked with each other?
Yeah,
I like that idea actually.
It'd be like affect the seasons somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be a
question. It would have to affect the seasons.
What are our seasons?
There's one other question before that. Is there ever a time where the suns are rotating faster? So like, let's say the dark sun is moving slower and the normal sun's moving faster. Is there ever a time where they're both in the same at the same time.
Well, we'd have to then decide what does the dark sun actually do? Is it just if it's radiating darkness, then what would happen if they're both in the sky? You know?
A dusk or a dawn.
I kind of like it if they're just always tidally locked, but they interact with the moons. Because the moons are free floating, they got their own cycles, right? So like, yeah, that way.
Can think of something of what would happen if they were both, if they were either both in the same sky or if they ever interlocked like that.
Yeah, that would be too much. I think we should just have them like you said, just constantly. So I like the idea of the seasons being that summer is short, spring is short, fall is long, and winter is the longest.
Okay. Winter is coming.
I like the idea that the reason that winter is so long is because at some point in time, there's a moon that's always sort of blocking the main sun.
Oh, okay. I see what you.
I mean, it makes sense.
With 10 moons in the sky.
Hey, I really want to continue this, but I have to get over to another thing I'm doing tonight. But please remember whatever you guys decide, because I want to like read up on it. I want to like absorb what people want to do. I will talk to y'all later. See you.
Bye.
One of us have been taking minutes, so.
Well, we have this to reference, and we'll be able to download this and listen to it since we're streaming it and stuff. So, but yeah, I am also writing into the notes. If somebody wants to take notes as well, like write out ideas, that's great as well.
Yeah. I'm jotting down like a couple things, but more like just actor idea stuff. But, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down for the one black sun, one normal sun, and 10 moons. Each moon is related to a scroll of magic. And then for what are the seasons like? Summer short, spring is short, fall is medium, and winter is long. Okay, so
is it harsh, or is it kind of like?
Yeah, I would say it'd be harsh.
Like rim of like the Frost Maiden harsh, or
like maybe worse in some places, not as bad in others.
I could see how the mountain areas would be really bad.
So like
it's always cold in the higher climates.
So like Canada type snow in one place, and then maybe like
New York type snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere gets snow. No place doesn't get snow. It's just the level of snow. And I would say that during the winter, there'd be a lot more monsters.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Longer nights, shorter days.
So
could that be linked to the to like the dark sun somehow? It's like
I think so.
It's emitting like coldness or something like that. So it's like the effect of the dark sun for this period of time.
I think that maybe it'd be like that the way that the Earth sort of rotates during the winter. It rotates like that, and it rotates maybe closer to the dark sun.
And
yeah, it's on an elliptical.
And maybe we don't have 365 days. We have like 572 days.
Sure.
To make a year, just an idea.
572 days. Sounds good. And then how long are the days? Normally.
So
during summer.
So like days are long during summer, so like the sun rises, let's say at 6:55 a.m.
Well, remember, we don't have to use 24-hour time periods. We can use longer time periods.
Right, I'm just going to give that just for now, and then you guys can, but like it rises at 6:55 and lowers at like 10:30.
How many hours in a day?
12. Well, no, 24. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but how many hours in the day here?
This is like the mineral question for me. I'm gonna skip.
Yeah, is this gonna affect things like how long like a long rest takes, just purely mechanically?
No, we can decide that later on.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought 30. I don't know why.
If you feel like 30, we can go.
It could also be, but it could just even be 22. Or yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on it.
I don't either. I don't personally care.
Yeah, I think things are changing, so I'd like it to be not quite 24 hours, just because we're already changing.
Okay.
Lots. So I think something different than 24 would be cool, and a bit of a challenge and a welcome.
Longer nights, longer days. Do you have an opinion, Mary?
On the hours of the day? No.
So during the summer, we could say that there's 17 hours of daytime, and the rest is night. If we're going with 30. So that would mean that fuck my
So
head is
we would be traveling sometimes during the night. Sometimes.
well, if you have 17 hours of daytime, then no.
In winter, that goes down.
Yeah, I would say that it would go down significantly. Yeah. But that's why the summer is so much shorter. So
maybe we should put a pin in it for now.
I got the idea here. So how long is a day? So summer, I think 17 hours, and then what's 17 minus 30 is my problem. I'm just bad at math right now. So that's
13.
13. So then 13 hours of night, and then during spring, it would probably be like a little more hours of daytime because it's got to thaw all that fucking cold. So I'd say 18 hours of daytime, and then 12 hours of night, and then fall, we would be doing like 13 hours of daytime, and then 17 hours of night, and then winter.
Drop it down to
Hold on to your shit. 8 hours of daytime.
Ooh, okay.
22 hours of night.
This is like Alaska.
Yeah, well, at least you get daytime.
And have 30 days of darkness.
Mm.
Or will we?
30 days of night. So yeah.
It's a very underrated movie. It's always good. Are there tropical areas?
So yeah, I think another thing is that we need to have a rough sketch of a map before we start designating what's tropical, what's polar, what's equinoctial, all that stuff too. So we need a rough sketch of a map before we.
Can we even have a tropical area if you said it snows everywhere? Can there be a tropical area where it snows?
Snowy beach.
Maybe the
magic.
Yeah, it's magic. Maybe the woods are used to it.
A fucking wizard did it.
It's a fucking wizard magic.
They're like, maybe it's like touched by the Feywild or something. Like it's got a link to something magical.
Maybe yes.
Mystical.
Maybe something like that. So therefore, the snow never touches the south. Like, let's say it's the south.
Yeah. So we could say that it snows, but magic has prevented it from actually going past a barrier.
It's like a bubble.
Yeah, or it just can't settle or something. There's just, if there's a tropical area, like it's got some yeah, some magical property to it, whether it's touched by the Feywild or a particular god is favoring it. Like, yeah.
So let's go through these questions, and we can skip some of them for now because I know we can't actually answer some of these. So, how many countries?
Roll a d20.
A d20? Okay, sure.
See.
What did you say, Ash? Like 18?
I just rolled my d20. Do I get any pluses? Because I got a 15.
How many countries can you name?
Country 1, country 2.
Country road, take me home,
Take me home.
to the place that I belong. West Virginia.
West Virginia.
So okay, I rolled 19.
Can we? Okay, this is a silly thing, but can we have one place that's just called Texas and it's the largest place in the continent?
No.
God damn it.
We can call it something else, like
Tejas.
Sextus.
Tex-Mex.
Saxus. Sastex. We can name it this. It's just backwards version of Texas.
Yacht.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Saxet. Saxit. Saxit. That's it. It's
Saxit.
Stay out of,
Okay.
I'll stay out of this vote.
So there's one country named Saxit. So is there a difference between countries and nations? Because if a nation, we can have countries within a nation, right? So
Right.
I'm gonna roll.
Like the U.S. is a nation.
I'm gonna roll a d6.
Country?
3 nations. So we have 3 nations.
And one of them is Saxit.
Got genocide by the Fire Nation.
Yeah, and then one of the nations is named 3 nations, and one of the nations is named Saxit. Saxit.
Everyone calls it different. It's kind of like Kentucky, like Louisville. Some people call it Louisville. Some people call it Louisville. Some people call it Louisville.
Only when you're properly trashed.
So there's Saxit. There's Saxit. That's one nation. What's another nation? We have Hamish. That doesn't sound like a nation. That sounds like a person. Cazo, come on.
Hey, that's just calling Hey Mitch.
Hamish.
Hamish.
Okay, maybe we could have some place kind of like Australia. Everything there wants to kill you. I'm sorry, Kendall.
That's true, though.
I've said it once. I'll say it again. You guys have bears and mountain lions and stuff. We just got these little 8-legged people.
Little 8-legged people. Fucking those pandas that drop from the trees and attack you. Drop pandas. Those aren't real. I know they're not real.
Okay.
Can drop pandas
for a second? I was like,
I had an Australian person try to trick me once and told me they were drop bears. I'm like, they don't exist. I already know they don't exist.
I would have believed it.
Yeah.
You guys just make up all kinds of shit, like drop bears and then something else. I can't remember what it was, but try to make your country.
Drop bears is the most common one.
They're supposed to be koala bears with like little fangs, and they just drop on you from trees and they tear you up. They're not real.
Terrifying. I want one.
Although koala bears do have really surprisingly long claws. They might look cuddly, but if you hug them without their consent, they can scratch you pretty bad. Just letting you know.
They're so cute.
Why'd you hug a koala bear one time?
Fucking drunk bastards.
No. We're taught it in Australia, like at primary schools. They're like, these look cuddly, but don't run up to hug it. It's got very big claws.
So we have Saxet. That'll be the southern nation. Saxit is the southern nation, and then we need a northern nation, and then like a central nation, I think.
Can one of them be like the name of Elon Musk's child, like those different symbols?
Just a bunch of symbols. I don't
That'll
think
be the
so.
Northern Science Nation.
The Northern Science Nation. What's a good name for a northern nation?
Norway.
Norway. Wait, what about we spell Norway backwards?
Yaron.
That's
Yaron.
Yaron. Yeah, let's do it.
That sounds like a
Yaron.
nation, though. Yaron.
It sounds like a nation, Yaron.
Yeah. It's not too bad. Yeah, Yaron.
So that's how we're gonna name all of our nations. We're just gonna take a nation that's real and then flip it around, and that's how we're gonna name our nations.
I love this. I love that I started
so
this.
now the middle nation, because we had three, right? So we've got north, south, and east, but there's no such thing as west in this world.
So such instead of west,
there's only east. It's north, south, and east, and that's it.
Or west. It's combined together.
If you keep going east, eventually you'll go west.
So it's west.
So like, but can we just turn around and go that way, and we'll be going the opposite? No.
No. You never go that. Don't go that fucking way. It's a bad way.
No one can go that way.
So I love that we have just like Texas, but it's not Texas, and then Norway, but it's not Norway.
So what's those are like typical things. Like Texas is like southern. Norway's generally considered north. Is there something from another country that's generally considered
we can have
middle?
Poland. We can have Poland because it's in the middle and it's always under attack from every other nation. So
Nallop.
Nallop.
Or if it was Russia.
Denallop. That doesn't sound like a good country name. I'm sorry, Poland.
What's Russia backwards?
Dear?
Nallop is better than your Texas backwards.
Saxit? Saxit's great. Let's have 2 more countries. That way there's more nation. Yeah, let's have 2 more. Yeah. Let's have 5. 1 for each cardinal direction, and then 1 in the middle. So we have a north, a south, an east, and a west, and maybe a middle one. So 6.
Okay.
They're fighting.
So Nallop can be in the middle.
Yeah. Just gonna look up countries. Oh, sorry, city.
Nallop.
Yep. Yeah. Places.
What's
I mean, Texas is
Russia
it's basically its own country.
It's hilarious because if you are at the bottom of Texas and you can be traveling for 12 hours and you'll literally maybe get close to the top.
I went from north. Maybe. I went from
like
the border of. I went from the border of Oklahoma, and it took me an entire day to go from the border of Oklahoma and Texas to go all the way down to the border to Mexico. 24-hour drive.
It's big.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's nearly as big as Australia, but let's see.
I meant like some Australian states.
Not big as a country, but I mean it's
bigger than most countries.
Yeah, it'll take more than 12 hours, at least New South Wales, to get to the south to the top.
Yeah, so Texas is like,
north. I think Texas is wider.
Texas is bigger than New South Wales.
That's hard to say backwards, isn't it?
New South Wales.
Texas is bigger than South Australia.
Salau. Huthus. When?
Well, like Australia is about the same size as America. If you compare the size of Australia to the size of America, it's about the same size.
What is
But
Sydney
anyways, we're getting off.
backwards?
Yendis. No. Yendis?
Sydney backwards.
Yendis? I'm not sure how you'd pronounce it.
Dingus.
Analingus?
I think we're going too far off script here.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
Yindis. Yindies. Yindies.
Yindies.
Yindies.
Yendis.
Like Wendy's, but Yindies.
Yendis!
Them damn Yindies.
I hail from the land.
Damn Yindies.
I hail from the land of Yindies. Far to the south, the land of Yindies, where everything tries to kill you.
I don't hate it though.
I
Is
don't
the
hate
funny
it
part.
either. I don't hate it either.
Maybe if the spelling's adapted a little bit or something, like yeah.
Question mark that one.
We could
Question mark it.
Yes, Yindies.
Yindies. Okay, so yeah, we'll put
Yeah.
that as
And there's a question mark at the end.
The northern
On the map,
Yindies.
Yindies? Question mark.
And the country's split in two. There's the northern Yindies and the southern Yindies. What do you think about Yindies,
I
Mary?
love it.
Do you think Yindies is a good name for a country or a nation?
It's great as much as the others.
Saxtet? Is that throwing shade at my Saxtet?
What do you think?
Saxet? Yeah, maybe. I think
But
Saxet-
everyone calls it different. Everybody from Saxit calls it different.
Saxet just says Saxet. Welcome to Saxet. Y'all been here in Saxet long time?
Maybe not. Okay, how many more do we have if Yindies is a possibility?
Yindies is one of them. So we have Nalop. What? Can I get you a what? A glass? Well,
Sal.
sure.
I kind of like Yindies though because it just sounds fun.
I like Yindies
That's where like all
too.
that's where the best parties are at.
What do you want a glass of, hun? Oh, you just want an empty glass. Okay.
That's where the best parties are, but you have to travel there with caution.
The East Yindies.
Just don't go in their waters.
Oh, Sixum. I put Mexico backwards. Doesn't look very good.
Okay, what's Canada backwards?
Canada.
And the deck. The deck.
And a deck. That's kind of
Aden,
interesting for a middle one.
Adenac.
The deck.
Adenac.
Adam.
Adenac is what Canada is. Adenac.
I kind of like that for a central one.
All right, so
Aden-
Sounds pretty cool, actually. And the deck. Yeah.
Adam. Yeah.
so Danilop is east. Adenac is central. And Yindies is the west.
West Yindies.
The West Yindies. So we have Saxet, which is the southern nation. Yaron, which is the northern nation. Danilop, which is the east nation. Adenac, which is the central nation. And the eastern Yindies.
And then Saxon.
Yeah, I said Saxon. That was the southern nation.
Okay. So we have one more. Correct.
So Saxon is the southern nation. Yaron is the northern nation. Danilop is the east nation. Adenak is the central nation. Yindies is the western nation.
Okay, so we got 5. Okay.
Wasn't sure we were sticking with the Poland one, but okay.
I like this. One day people will be like, "So how did you guys name your country?" Well, it's a story.
Tell you. We just took the names of already existing countries and spelt them backwards.
Because we are creative.
Cooler. Hey, that's fucking hilarious.
I went with I had a character for about a year called Eamon Rittererk. His character name backwards. No one picked up.
That's beautiful.
Oh boy. All right, so now we have the countries of Saxet.
Is it like an even split? Because there's 15 countries and 5 nations. So is it an even 3 countries each, or
We can do
like
it that way.
Saxet just get? Does the West Indies just get 1 country and everyone else?
just one in the West Indies.
We will not stand divided.
There's the North Indies.
Will rise again.
The West Indies will rise.
East tried to secede.
So now we have the two nations of West Indies and the East Indies to the west. It's confusing to do it. Imagine that you would imagine that the West Indies would be on the west. No, that's wrong. It's on the east.
Okay,
They didn't want to give up the name. They're like, we believe in the traditional beliefs
we were the
of
West Indies
Indies,
first.
so we are keeping the name. If the West of West Indies wants to secede, they can, but they are calling themselves the East.
They're calling themselves the East Indies.
Okay, so there is a couple of names in the chat that I kind of like. Tibbet. T-E-B-I-T. Tibbet.
Is there something going on with Twitch? Because I don't see the stream anymore for some reason.
I still see the stream.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just me.
Thank you, Unicharge, for putting that forward.
Oh, now it says I have no internet, but I clearly have internet, so.
Not enough to be doing this. Sweet. A bit.
Napis?
Nyaps.
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 Nyaps. But like they like the people that live there pronounce it like Nyap.
Snarf.
Nyaps. Snarf.
So
I mean, are we keeping the backwards thing going for the countries as well?
I mean, I like the idea of using these, but like,
Yes, and when you're going to be naming your characters, you're going to take real life names, and you're going to just take them backwards too.
No, I was thinking about just Edward V.
Adnek Irurid.
I gotta figure out what melody is backwards.
So, okay, what countries are we using for Saxet then? Are we gonna do an even, like?
I think even 3 is fine. Well,
okay.
Saxet would be the biggest. Maybe Saxet gets 4.
Then who gets 2?
Because there's been some. I mean, Yindies, because there's the East and the West.
Sure, we'll go with so the Indies gets only the East and the West Indies.
Yeah, well, they get 2, and like we can nickname the countries like the East and the West of West Indies. But it's like they have their own names, but like it's just maybe like a cultural sort of joke.
Yeah. So Saxet is gonna have. Let's go with.
So, I'm assuming there's been some like conquest wars at some point as well. So maybe it started off as like even, but maybe Saxit has a country that previously belonged to the Indies or something.
Indies,
like I don't know.
the West Indies, yeah.
Yeah, like there's possibly some territorial disputes have happened in the past.
Oh
the
no,
more
Saxit has the South Indies. Oh man.
the more I hear the word Yindies, the more it's growing on me.
Yindies. So Saxit has
Hi, kitty.
Aesir, Nyaps, and Tibet.
I like Tibet.
But
And then one more. So the evil Yindies. The North and the South Yindies. Don't ever want to go to North Yindies.
Korea backwards, Airrock. It's kind of cool.
Airrock. All right, yeah, that'll be the last country of Saxit. Airrock.
Sounds kind of dark. Like that's the place that nobody travels to.
That's where the prison camps are.
Let's never go there, Simba.
No. So far.
Everywhere the light touches.
That's Indies.
Everywhere the light touches Simba
Indeed.
belongs to you. Except for that goddamn dark place. Don't ever go there, Simba. Alright, the countries of Yindies.
Authoritarian, isn't it?
Don't go there.
When I grow up, everything that light touches. Oh boy!
Oh boy!
Because we eat things.
Except for that place over there, that's where we give the hyenas because yeah.
Eh.
They're not part of the circle of life? No, I hate them!
No, Simba. They are
quite
evil.
when you think about it.
Man, that whole thing is messed up. They're like,
I
look,
do not
we don't want
accept
other,
them
we don't,
at all, and I'm going to jump into their territory.
we accept all animals in our territory except for other meat eaters because we're the only meat eaters allowed in the circle of life.
The villain in The Lion King tried to, bring people together. Okay, I'm just pointing that out.
He was trying to bridge the gap.
Tried to make peace and let people together, and he was the villain. I'm not saying there's a bad message.
He just wasn't a good ruler. He didn't know how to handle his resources well.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, next question.
No, now that I'm thinking about it, it is really messed up that he's like everything that light touches is ours. Everything light touches is ours, Simba, because we're lions. But any other meat eater is off in that elephant death jungle.
Yeah, they get our scraps.
What the heck? That's so mean.
Yeah.
So we'll get off this for now.
Yeah.
What is
mini rant about the Lion King. So we're on the Yindies now. The countries of the Yindies.
So there's only two.
There's only two.
Because they lost one.
Yeah, they lost one in a great war. The Great Indie War of 1812.
So what would Wales be backwards?
Wales is sail. Swa.
Swales.
Sea Lao.
Sealau.
Salau. Slaw.
Seal. Seal. Sealaw. Sealaw.
New Sealaw.
Sealaw. Sure, it's East Sealaw and West. Just name them like East and then West, and like what happened to the other Sealaw?
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about the other Sealaw.
They left.
They succeeded from the Union. So Sealaw is one of the countries.
Yalg Aru. Sorry, I'm trying to say Uruguay backwards. Yalguru?
Yarguru. What is it? The Indies? What was the country you want to spell backwards?
Uruguay. Yao-guru.
Yao-guru. I like Yao-guru.
I don't know.
I feel like everyone there is really smart.
Yao-guru.
How do you spell it backwards?
I, for some reason, just closed it. Y-A-U G-U R-U.
R-U.
G for green.
G, okay.
U and then R-U.
Okay.
Yaguru.
Yaguru. Okay. Now we have to think of all the laws for these places, just so you guys know. So now the country of the countries of Adanica.
So I think Mary should have one of these first, since it's Poland.
Oh no, this isn't Poland. This is Canada backwards.
Okay, this is Canada. Sorry.
She should have. She should have one anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, you should have one anyways.
Everyone gets one. I get one.
So it's a country for Danica. Danic. Backwards. Doesn't have to be backwards. It could be anything you want.
So, would we all be from the same country?
You don't have to be.
Because I like the idea of traveling all the different countries for shows.
Mary? You're supposed to come up with a name for the country. Oh, okay. She's not feeling very good, she said.
Nepal. Japan backwards. Nepal.
Sure.
Sweden backwards. Netawes.
Do we have to name the towns too?
At least in the country we're certain in.
Okay. Pombay. Or is that already a place?
Pombay.
I'll just go all the way and set with Pompeii.
Pompeii.
Pompey. How do you spell it?
Pombay. So Palm Bay. Pombay. I would like that to be in the tropical region.
The tropical region. Sure. Adinak can be the tropical region. So that's Adanak's 3 countries.
Oh, maybe that's the reason that it's always under attack too, because of resources that can't be taken from anywhere else.
I like that.
So now we're going after the Danelop countries.
Morocco backwards is Okaram.
Where are you from? I'm from Akaran.
Sounds very tribal.
I like that if that could be in like the middle, like in Canada.
Just forget the word. We just say the actual word.
Like she'll just look at the word like Canada. Guys, if you flip this word around, it spells Canada.
The fuck is a Canada?
She's talking gibberish again.
I have no clue, but it sounds really cold.
Oh, what about Qatar backwards? Ratak.
Oh, I like that we're gonna start looking at like random things in our in our house.
The best brainstorming.
Just Googling.
Sword backwards.
Drawers. Robes.
Maybe like dagger backwards or something.
Ragged. Gad. Gad isn't bad.
What is it?
Dagger backwards. Regad. Regad.
Rigad. I come
Kind of
from
like
the land
rugged.
of
Regad.
Rigad. It kind of sounds Australian though. Rigad.
Mm.
Well, probably about 7. I'm going to dip for a little bit. If this is still going on, I will come back. But I have some stuff I need to take care of.
I count. What's 7 for me? In 20 minutes, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
When your 7 is? Cool.
That's just me. Yeah, I exactly to just dip for a little bit.
So how many have we got so far?
We got 1 so far. That's confirmed.
One country?
This is Danelop. We've got 1 country for Danelop so far.
And what was it? Sorry. I got distracted with Googling.
Okaram.
From Morocco. Okay. Anyone else?
I'm trying to think of some good ones here.
I feel like I'm stuck now. Like there was a roll.
Lizard.
How is like
Yindies was our peak.
use Uzbekistan backwards. Natski Ebzu. That's sick Ebzu. No.
There you go.
And then I guess we'll just do like towns. We can all just send towns in. Like how many towns would you want?
It doesn't matter. Each country will be different.
Belarus backwards. Suraleb. Suraleb. Suraleb.
Surilab. Now I'm just looking at random shit in my house. Like,
Brazil backwards.
Riggin.
Lizard.
Huzzah.
Riggin.
I like huzzah.
Namo.
What would be fun is if we all was to take like a name from one of our own homebrew worlds that we've all created and just have that like thrown in somewhere. So like have one of your towns or like Edgeville, for instance, Gil. Mine's is Swan Forge. I love janitor. What is it called? Random name generator.
Cool. Cameroon backwards. Nuramek.
What was
Sounds
it?
possibly orcish. Cameroon backwards. Nuramek. Nuramek.
Can you spell that?
N-O-O-R-E-M-A-C.
Okay. Yeah, let's go with that.
Do we need one more for
One more
this one,
for
or
Danilop.
Yorkston?
what's that one? Buxton?
Yorkston, that's just a random name that came to my head.
Syrup. Syrup. Serpic. Serpic.
Serpic.
Serpic.
Serpic.
Serbic.
Like that.
The B.
Zerpic.
Serpic with a C at the end.
I-
It's Cyprus backwards. Cyprus.
I love
Cool.
I love that we're all
I like
going to we're all gonna get together and we're gonna be playing in this world and we're all gonna be saying these names completely different.
Probably.
And that's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah. Maybe we all follow different pantheons, and that's why.
Like
So now
my
it's
god
the
likes me to say that.
countries of Yaron.
How
After
many do we need?
Yaron, how many we have left?
That's it.
Yeah, okay, so we need 3.
Oh.
Yep. Abba. It's Cuba
Abba.
backwards.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Is there a continent we've left out?
Let's see. How about Lemuria?
Is that a country backwards?
Nope. It's just a random name.
Yeah, but it could be a random name of someone else's country.
Lemuria?
Could be. Pretty sure nobody used any of these countries backwards in their books. Rosamok.
Something.
Comoros.
Morocco? Alright.
Comoros, it says.
Hmm.
Ognok. That's Congo backwards.
Ognok. Sounds like the right
Abok.
hand.
Razamok.
Arbok.
And Ognok. Those all sound like they fit into the same kind of.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Done with the country names.
Easy clap.
And there's still
Yeah, give me a second.
17 more pages to go.
Yep.
I feel like because we started differently, some of those questions in the upcoming pages have probably been half answered already.
I think so too, but we'll go through them.
Yeah.
I assume that there's
Yeah,
forests that I can go into late at night by myself.
Yeah, cause he should be in now.
To the bathroom for now. I'll be back in a sec.
So you're specifically taking out forests so I don't go into them. Smart choice.
So which areas are the most fertile farmland then?
Saxit, Texas.
Sure.
That's where I feel like grain would come from, and like cattle. It's another thing. What animals, because that's at the very top, are all animals a part of this world?
Sure.
Can
You
there
can
be
ask the questions
different?
when he gets back.
Okay. Let's Google an email.
So far I put that Saxit has grain and farm animals.
What about what else would they have?
Are they high technologically or forging?
Oh, we'll get to that later on, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
So
if that's what you were on or not.
no, we're on the natural resources in nature, the very first question. So we put that Saxit is the most fertile farmland so far.
Okay.
So that has like farm. So like, is all animals? That's what I was asking. Is all animals allowed in this world? Are there like
That's a different
different
question
types?
further down. So we probably should just
No,
keep going down the list.
no, it's not. It's right under. So there's what
That's
areas are
further
more
down.
fertile?
That's further down.
It's
Next question is,
it's.
where are mineral resources located?
I'm not answering that question. I can't hear you, Kendall.
You're muted, Kindle.
Sorry. So does that mean like Like, I assume mineral resources are kind of spread out everywhere, but are you asking like which nation has the most?
Yeah, probably.
Like,
yeah, that would probably be the one that we would go with.
I mean, I want to say Yindies just because Australia's whole mining and exporting our mining thing, but that's the only inspiration I would have to pick something other than just randomly rolling a dice or die.
Yeah.
I could see the Yindies. We keep on talking about the Yindies, and I keep imagining like this high mountainous area with them.
It's
Yeah.
weird, Kazu, because it
agree.
should be. Hold on one second, because it should be sharing with you. I don't know why it's not. No, I hit the sharing options like 4 different times, so it should be sharing it. Try refreshing it again. Right. Yeah, we can go with the Yindies.
The Indies. I love that. Indies has grown on me.
In for that.
Okay, which animals, birds, fish, and other wildlife are commonly found in which areas? If they're imaginary areas such as dragons, where do they live? So, yeah, I imagine that all the animals in the land normally would exist in this world as well.
Dragons? Where would dragons be at? Or do we don't know where dragons are? Only the DM knows that.
Well, that's the question. Do dragons exist?
I mean, I don't mind dragons existing.
Well, if
yeah.
we're gonna go with the post-apocalyptical, however you want to say that.
Okay. So
put it in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'll let you finish, and then I have an idea.
Yeah, I
So-
was just gonna say if we're gonna have like the central area being the tropic area that has all the magic there, I would imagine that's where dragons would be coming from too.
If dragons supposedly doesn't exist, but they do exist, but we just don't know they exist. Like we haven't seen them in so many years, but some people still, like how some people believe in aliens and how others don't. I believe in
Okay.
aliens.
So it's kind of like a Lord of the Rings or Skyrim thing, where it's just like they existed, but we think they're
Extinct.
out, or
Yeah.
Like
Like they-
extremely
And
rare
we-
creature.
Yeah.
we can't prove they still exist.
Right, but like
And then if one turns up, it'll be a surprise to us as players. We'll be like, "Holy shit, they do still exist!"
yeah,
So
right.
you
like
want dragons as
holy
like
shit, they do
legendaries, as like legends, but not necessarily anything else.
They do move in herds.
like they're there, they're real, and they exist. But we do. I've never seen one.
Okay.
whoever-
Okay.
whoever-
Yeah. So they're like so rare and stuff that a lot of people don't believe they're real.
Right.
What are you saying?
Kind of like so like Game of Thrones, the eggs, like there was no dragons, and then fucking Daenerys and with her dragon eggs.
Yeah.
And then boom, dragons.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I think look, we are playing a version of Dungeons and Dragons, so I kind of feel like it would be weird if there weren't dragons somewhere.
right, like dragons are in the world. They're extinct.
Yeah, there's something going on there. There's something going on there.
Yeah,
Like
they're extinct.
they haven't been seen, or maybe they left. Maybe the dragons got together and
Like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
they flew away for some reason. I don't know.
Ooh, they went into another dimension.
Yeah, good question. Where did the dragons go? Like,
Right. So there's
maybe it's
dragons,
tied in
but
with the
determined where they went, we don't know. You guys don't know. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
We talk about them.
Do any remain, or
I'll figure that out for myself and then figure out what you guys would know.
I like the thought of like there being like kind of like how T-Rexes, or not just T-Rexes, but like dinosaurs. Like there's bones and stuff. They're like in museums. We know they existed. That's just random thought.
yeah. There'd definitely be like, yeah, I'd say there's evidence of them and stuff, but it's like a bit of a mystery as to why we don't see them these days. And there may be different nations or different like religious pantheons have like different ideas of what happened.
Yeah.
Something.
But what about like all the is narwhals a thing?
Narwhals.
I'm basically going to say that any animal that exists on Earth will exist in this. The difference is that it'll depend on the climate, just like it does in the natural world.
Okay. Unicorns.
Yes. Anything that exists in the D&D manuals will exist in this world as well. Just depends on climate. No.
So dinosaurs is not a thing. Okay.
No.
So I can't polymorph into a T-Rex. God damn it.
Nope, you can only polymorph into something you've seen. Which is where most EMs fuck up. Because if you've never seen a T-Rex because you've never been to Cholt, why would you be able to polymorph into a T-Rex?
I could have seen it in a book.
It's not the same. So which resources, coal, iron, oil, and gold, and all the others, are particularly abundant and in which areas?
Like all that being in Poland. What do you guys think?
Snadlup. What do we call it?
I think oil is abundant in Saxit.
Just for Texas.
Say it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it, but I was like, we've already given it like grain and cattle and everything else.
So we'll say coal. We'll say that that oil and iron. So iron, oil, and limestone is abundant in Saxit. And then gold and coal can be abundant in Poland, which is Denalp.
And then like diamonds.
Denalp. And then
How about
diamonds? Well, gold's definitely like gotta be the Australia of the world. So Yendies.
maybe diamonds can be like in Norway or something?
And oil in Yendies, right?
Yeah.
Yaron is just diamonds.
What about like crystals and stuff like that? Like
we can say
how
that's
Brazil.
Yaron too. Like we don't have to go into super detail. We just need to know the general like exports, imports kind of stuff. It's not a huge deal.
So like let's say Yaron has crystals and I mean incense could be anywhere.
Sure.
It's up to you.
Is there a place where there are rich deposits that have yet to be discovered? Or where they haven't been fully exploited?
The
We can just
forest, I guess. The magical forest.
Yeah.
I don't know, you could put like
So
a
where's the magical
Fern
forest?
Gully. The tropical area, right? Adenac?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I like that.
we'll
Like a
say
bit
that
of a
Adnac
fern.
doesn't have a lot of exports because they don't let anyone mine or do anything there because it's trees and they're like, we must protect the trees.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it's
say
just
you're
like
on
a.
budget.
How
It's
much
like
conflict
yeah.
has been or might have been caused by the imbalance in resources? How much active / peaceful trading? Much conflict.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Many wars over Ananak.
And Yindi's lost a.
Yeah, Yindi has lost a country to poor Saxit.
Hmm.
Oh my god.
What water resources are available? I would say all, just to make it easier.
Agreed.
Are there multiple moons? Yes, we have one black moon, one normal moon, and one black sun, one normal sun, and 10 moons. Each moon is related to a school of magic. What's the weather like?
I'm going to vote for Saxit to be hot and humid. What's the weather like in Sydney?
Hot and humid.
Would it be humid though?
I mean, in general, or
Just in general.
it's pretty middle of the rung. It's like, summer's not too hot, winter's not too cold. It's kind of like in the middle, unless there's like a bushfire or something.
So the Indies have some really good weather.
Yeah, it's just sort of it's just
Uh,
I'm not really sure how to describe Sydney's weather. It's not a very defining characteristic.
we lost Jake.
We're losing a lot
Oh
of
no.
folk.
Yeah. I think we can, if you want, Gil, we can get through these next couple of parts and then
Let's just
it's
finish
up
the
to you.
natural resources in nature and then we'll pause for the day.
Yeah.
So Yaron, I think, is going to be rainy and snowy.
Mm-hmm.
Because Yaron's the northern.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Canada can be mystical, just like that mystical land with like everything. Like
That
mystical
Everspring
forest.
sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have the best.
Everyone wants to be from Anadark.
Right. Like, can we all be from Anadak, please? Jake is back.
We're trying to stop a big machine from Saxit from taking down our tree.
Let's.
You have Slade at the moment?
Yeah, sorry, 1 second.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm back too.
Oh, yay!
Come back. We thought we lost you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Like everything just froze.
Discord does that. I can't wait till we get to character creation eventually. I'm very excited for that.
Okay, so
Eventually.
oh, sorry. So what is the weather like?
In Anadec, I think there should be like, okay, just follow me here. It should be really, really cold, but because of the fairies, it's the best weather ever.
Okay.
Like, everybody wants to be from Anadec, like Kindle said. Like that's where the tropical area
Except
is.
of the people who are really anti-magic.
Right.
They consider Anadec to be like heresy, like the worst place ever.
Again, why it's always getting invaded.
Mhm.
And they can't do shit about it because all the fucking wild magic that goes on.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like the land should just be pure wild magic.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
So then Saxon's hot and humid. Yindi's is balanced. Yaron is rainy and snowy. Anadak is perfect weather. And then Danilop is we'll say balanced also.
Seasonal.
And what's Norway?
Yaron
snowy and
is
rainy one?
rainy,
Yeah, it's Yaron.
rainy and snowy.
Okay, so it's Yaron. Yaron has all the
Very
nice
hot.
mountains.
I think Yindies would have to have some as well because they're a big mining export thing.
Well, they could have not the mountains, but the plateaus.
Oh yeah, true.
I don't know how you spell plateaus.
Plateau, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah, that's it.
Or PAU, yeah.
Flat, and then Saxon is flat, obviously.
It's just flatland.
Because it's good for farming. That's what
Yeah.
we said earlier. And
Yeah.
deck is tropical, like forest and tropics.
And it's super magic-y. Everything is wild magic. All like the mystical creatures are there, like fucking unicorns.
And Danilop is just balanced. There's some
Very
hills, some mountains, some flatlands. That's all the countries, right?
I think that's everything.
I think so, yeah.
Saxon is flat and hot and humid. Yaron is plateauy, no, mountains and cold and rainy. Danilop is mix of all. Adanica is, or Adnak is foresty, tropical, and magic-y. Yindies is plateauy. Okay.
Where would Dampiers come from?
I don't know.
The dark sun.
And Dampiers.
They probably wouldn't naturally be born.
I mean, but they would have to. Would that mean there would be vampires? They're mystical creatures.
Sure, but that doesn't mean they have to be naturally born.
I don't have to.
created?
I
You mean
asked
like
because-
is
Artificially
I asked
created.
because that's
is
okay.
is there like a Transylvania sort of thing?
Maybe there's a seventh country that's like not quite a part of the main country, and that's where all the bad shit is.
Because I kind of like if you said cobalt press stuff is allowed, then I'm probably gonna go Dampier.
Well, we'll say that the underground is where all the bad stuff comes from. What would be the Underdark?
Like the Underdark. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's where it'd be like Drow and
Australians.
The
The Australians. How are the continents laid out?
Like a plus
I like oceans. I like
Like I think the thought of like you have to get on a boat to get to the Yindies because they're like the furthest.
interesting though, but we said like Saxit has like a previous Yindies city.
That's true. So then
So is it like just one city on the continent is like owned by Saxit, like part of the Saxit nation?
I
It
mean,
was taken over,
if you think of
like a port city
America,
or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
like if you
Okay,
think of
yeah.
America, like you think of like, I mean, Hawaii is a part of it, and like Alaska, and they're kind
Maybe
of like
maybe the Indies are sort of split. The country of the Indies is split. Like there's a whole bunch of smaller. They're bigger country. It's a big country, but it's like split into like maybe a few different parts, and like one of them is a fairly large part, and that's owned by Saxit, and it's just an island. They're all just kind of like Hawaii, but a bigger version of Hawaii. So like it's a big Hawaii.
Yeah, so it's
Not
like a
like-
collection of islands that form
Yeah,
a
a collection
nation.
of island that form a nation. Yeah, it did. Like each country would have been
Yeah.
a different island. So okay, so
And then
Saxit
And then
is
Saxit
one large fucking
just
nation.
steamrolled one of them. Just was like, this is ours now.
Because there's something there that they wanted, oil or something. I don't know.
so. Then underneath all like what? Okay, because there'll be underneath ground, because that's where you said like Drow and Kuato and all those guys were come from. Vampire. So what is that under?
Everything.
Okay.
So it's like under each sort of country area. Like, is there like a tunnels through the ocean that connects it all, or is the Underdark separate in different islands?
It would be connected to like they're under the ocean and stuff.
Yeah, you just have to go down really
Yeah.
far. Okay.
Really far.
It would be
Maybe it's
dangerous.
not like Yeah, maybe it's not a very traveled place very often or something.
Are there any nations that touch each other and are not separated by an ocean?
I think there should be.
Anorak
Just
is the
not sure
southernmost.
which.
What was the southernmost?
Saxit.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
those.
So would Yaron, the middle one, and Saxit all touch?
I think they could. Yeah.
It
What's
could.
Yaron's expert again?
It's north.
Yaron is the north
Norway.
one. Yeah.
Oh, but they don't
Northernmost.
have like a major export that we had decided yet.
Yeah. So the major export of Yaron is
Sorry, I should have.
diamonds and
diamonds?
crystals. Diamonds and crystals.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose with like mineral-rich soil and stuff, it makes sense that it'd
I
still
could
be
find out.
tiny.
Yeah, like a sort of a central continent connecting the three. And then Indies to the west, and then Danelop. Is Danelop also a secluded island nation, or?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just typing this up now.
Yeah, all good.
So maybe we could try to meet more than once a week if possible. Or do you want to just do once a week, Gil?
More than once a week is fine.
More than once
to
a
get
week to get
this-
together to try to.
Yeah, however it works.
Like a day where we just have like a free couple hours.
Trying to remember where all these locations are. So yeah, what is Danelop? Is it connected to anything?
Maybe it's like connected to like Norway or Yarn.
Yaron?
Yaron. I'm gonna call it the regular way for now until I like constantly see it and hear it.
All right, so we have two sort of countries. We have 3 countries, well, 4 countries that are connected basically, and kind of a weird, I guess you'd say, hook. And then you have in net Yindies, I mean, off to the west as their own little countries. How the country is laid out, well, we'll figure that out some other time. That's a question we don't need answered right now. How much land is temperate, equational, or polar? We'll figure that out later too.
Yeah,
I'll
we
go
kind of
for
talked
it.
a bit about how winter comes around and what the general.
Yeah, so some of these questions, like, we don't really
Right.
need because we've answered them.
Right, we answered the forest, the tropical, the grasslands, kinda.
Yeah.
Most of these, like, we answered. The next
So
would be
yeah,
like getting through magic.
we just need to add the details and stuff, but that's something that we should do when we start actually writing up each of the countries and each of the nations and stuff. So yeah, I think that this is a good spot to pause for now, because when we start getting into magic, I want everyone here. So
That's fair. Maybe we can try to, when you have a day off, Gil, we can, if everyone's available, try to like regroup for a few hours and see if we can hammer through most of it.
yeah,
Well,
that sounds
probably
good.
not most of it, but some of it.
We got through 1 page of my questions, and I removed quite a
18
few
weeks
because
later.
Yeah, I think we've inadvertently answered some later ones just from brainstorming.
yeah, we
But
like some of these questions
yeah.
are going to be answered fairly easily. Like, it's just a question of Is there a negative effect to magic? No. Okay, we can skip that. If there is, then cool. What is it? And some of this is like, yeah, just chatting. And some of these we don't even have to answer. Like, we answered them while we were talking about the countries. So,
yeah.
And I also see like there's religion and gods, and we kind of sort of got through some of that stuff, but we can maybe like just look into it a little bit more and see.
yeah, it'll be diving in deeper and going into the more details of it. So, yeah, we're going to pause here. I think that this is enough time, and we'll stop it from here and then pick up a different day and go from there.
Sure.
Yeah, quite a few things answered.
I'm getting excited.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. If you want to see more of this, we'll be bringing it back whenever we get the chance. And yeah, if you want to watch us just play D&D instead of listening to us talk about a world, eventually this is going to become a campaign Monday. But we also run Vampire the Masquerade on Friday, and we're going to be starting hopefully another campaign Thursday for Pathfinder maybe, or something else. We'll see. But yeah, join us on this channel for all kinds of different stuff. And I have a game Saturday as well. So thank you guys for being here. And do any of you want to shout anything out?
Kendall, do you have anything?
Watch One for All. And if anyone knows a acting agent in Sydney who's got space on their books, let me know.
So yeah, acting agent in Sydney. Let us know. So yeah, thanks guys. Have a great day. Bye.